In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I make a little hand embroidered badge. So to start this, I have got a template here that I've done. It is 10 centimeters across. It can be any size that you wish, any that you like. I'm going for 10 centimeters. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw around this on our fabric. So we're going to do it 2 times because we want a back and a front to this. So I'm just going to draw with the pencil. Make sure that you go relatively close to the edge. I might actually go a bit closer because we're not doing any seam allowance today, because we will be using a blanket stitch in the end to go round it. So we don't need a seam allowance. So that's one circle done there. I'm just going to make sure that I can do another one here. And that's my 2 circles done. So I'll move my piece of template and my pencil to the side for now, because next I'll be cutting them out. In order to cut my fabric, I can't be using normal scissors like this that I used to cut my template, because the fabric needs special scissors. So we use what's called either fabric scissors or shears. Now you can see they're a lot bigger than normal scissors, and you must only use these for fabric. That's really important. You can't be using them for anything else because it will blunt the blade and then they won't cut as well. So I'm going to show you how I do one, and then we'll come back for the next bit. So what I always do is I keep my fabric flat on the table. Always got to be flat on the table. And the first thing I'm going to do is find an area. See how my scissors are here? I know you can't see the handle, but what I do is I literally just keep everything flat on the table, and I very slowly work my way round. Okay, I don't lift my scissors or the fabric off the table at any point. Okay, so that's how I cut my fabric. I'm going to continue and finish doing this off camera, and then we'll start back at the next step. Okay, I have now cut my 2 pieces from my template. You can see that they are the exact same size here. So I'm going to put the template to the side, and now we're going to start a design. So you can plan this beforehand. I've had a little plan, and what I'm going to do, because I'm Miss T, we're doing this is D&T with Miss T, I'm going to write Miss T here. But what I think would be nice for you all to do is to write your own initials. So I'm going to do that now, and I'm only going to do it on one side, because eventually we're going to put these 2 bits together like this and do a blanket stitch around the edges to conceal all our stitching. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to do it in block writing. You could do it any writing you like. You could, if you wanted to, add a few extra designs. So you could do a little flower here. I'm gonna do one this side. So you could do a little circle, and then a little flower. You could draw a card, you could do stars, you could do anything you like. I might put another flower on this side. Don't worry if you're unable to get any design on, that's okay. As long as you get your name, that'd be really nice. And the next step we're going to do is, once we've got this, we need to start planning how we're going to sew. So you should have seen all my videos beforehand about the different types of stitching. I demonstrated quite a few. We've got the running stitch, the straight or back stitch, stem stitch, chain stitch, blanket stitch, satin stitch, and French knots, okay? So I'm going to do, for miss, I'm going to do that in a back stitch, so the one with no gaps. For T, I'm going to do it in a chain stitch. The dot of the eye is going to be a little French knot, or quite a big French knot. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to do for these right now, but I'm going to do the Miss T first, and then we can move on if we have time. I have now got my thread and my needle ready. I've chosen a nice dark red to do this. I think it'll be very nice. And I'm going to start with Miss. As I said before, I'm doing the back or straight stitch here. So and I know we've not done this in curved lines or anything, but it's the exact same. We just follow the line that we've drawn. So I'm going to start with my M. So again, we start from the back, just poke it through. Make sure that you've got your knot tied in your thread. So poke it through, and I'm going to turn it this way because I like going right to left. And then I'm just going to do a little stitch, nice and little. There's one. Just keep going. Remember, with the back or straight stitch, you go back over yourself. So when you pull it through, you don't, if it was a running stitch, you'd move up a bit, but I'm actually going to go back into this hole and do a little stitch again and overlap it like that. Okay, I'm going to keep going. It shouldn't take absolute ages, but I will be a bit faster, so always remember that. So don't worry if I'm going a little bit too fast, that's okay. I'm trying to slow myself down a bit so you can see, and we'll do the M. Now, what I find is best is, you can see here, I'm about 1 stitch away from reaching the top. So when I put my needle back in, instead of coming out maybe a little bit short, so I'm not quite on it, I want to make sure I come out right on the top of the M. And that means that when I pull this through, like that, I can now just go like this. The almost scary thing that I find about these is that you feel like you're going in the wrong direction, because now I can't continue putting my stitch up here because I'm going to make a stitch out of the line. So what I want to do is I want to start going down here. Sorry, down here. So I'm going to put my needle in and come out directly across from where I was. And it's going to be like, oh, but I'm going to make a stitch there. You're not, I promise you. Oh, I've come out of shot. So you pull it in. That's the first bit of the M done. I'm going to turn it again. And then here, do you see? I've come out at the side, so now I can just keep going down this line. Don't worry if you don't get it first time, that's fine. You can always undo it and go back and do it again. I'm just going to show you again when I get to the bottom bit of this M, and then I'll move to the S, I think, and I can show you. So look, I've got to here, but I want to, instead of going down here, I want to come up here now. So I put my needle in and I come across here instead. Okay? I've started going around that curve. So that's the start of my hand embroidery. I'm going to finish Miss, and then I'll come back and do the T in a chain stitch. Okay, now that I've finished Miss, and you can see here, it's also, and I've not done my French knot, I'll come back to that. I'm going to do my T now, and I said before I was going to do it in a little chain stitch, so I will. I'm going to start at this side, and I'll just do 2 straight lines, one here and one here. So start from the back. Again, this is my personal favourite. Start from the back, do a little loop like this, and then a little stitch, pull it through, and then I'll keep going. I'll do this line, and then I will do the other one on my own, and I'll show you what it looks like finished. So through, see the little chains. Remember not to pull too tight with these, as they might become a little bit stuck, which we don't want. We want to make sure they look like lovely chains. Okay, I'm gonna go to here, and then we'll stop. So remember, we're going one more little loop in the hole we just came out of, and a little stitch, and then we pull through. That creates the chain there. I am now moving on to my little flowers. So I've got my needle threaded. I'm going to use this yellow this time. I thought it'd be a nice colour. And I am going to, in the middle, do lots of little French knots, okay? So I'm going to show you. I'm just going to do them random. This is how I would do it. Don't worry. Remember, you'll probably just have 2 letters. It may be a flower or a love heart or a car or a shoe or anything, a little symbol, Xbox symbols, whatever you associate with. But I'm going to do lots of little French knots here. So I'm going to start from the back, pull through, and then as before, I'm just going to do it 3 and through. I'll do it a couple of times, and then I'll do both sides, and you can see what the effect looks like. Okay, so I've done 3 there. I will build this up and you'll see what it looks like in a second. So I have now finished Miss T and my little French knots here. So I'm going to move on now to doing the petals, and the petals I'm going to do in a satin stitch, and I'm going to start from the middle and work my way out. So I'm going to just put my, I'll show you one leaf and then I can move on. I put my needle through to the front, then I'm pretty much just going to go straight up and through. I've not started right at the edge just because I want to make it so that it looks kind of convincing. I don't want to basically, so I'm going to do this little edge and then I'll move the other direction. So you kind of keep it very close together at the bottom and then move it further away at the top. And we're filling this in. Remember, this is called a satin stitch. So I'm going to put this here. So that's this half done. And I'm going to move to the middle again and go in the other direction. There you go. That is, if I do it, you can see it from far away, then close up. That is the satin stitch. I'm going to do these for the rest of my little leaves, my little petals, sorry, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I have now finished doing my satin stitch for my flowers, and the next step I've done is I've gone ahead and I've pinned these. I know that these are sewing needles, you can see that. I actually don't have any pins on me right now where I'm filming this, but you would use pins, and for today I'm just using sewing needles, so pretend they're pins. They work the same though. So I've pinned this, I've just done it in 3 places, and I've done this because I've added my back, do you see? So I've lined them up, put them on top of each other, and then pinned them in place. The next step that I'm going to be doing is the blanket stitch all the way around the edges. Now to do this, I will start at the bottom, just because if the knot's there, you want it at the bottom, you're less likely to see it than at the top. So we're gonna turn upside down and start at the bottom. I have done a previous video on blanket stitch, so if you want to watch that now, you can do, but I'm going to show you how I do it for here. So I've got my thread and my needle, already tied the knot at the end. I have also chosen the yellow colour that's the same as in the flowers, just because I thought it would be nice, it would match. Now for blanket stitch with 2 pieces of fabric, what you want to do is you might want to, and I'm going to do this now before I sew, I'm just going to use my needle to show you, draw a little line here. So I'm just going to draw a little bit of a line and then sew that bit, and then we'll come back. So I'm just going to here mark, I'm going to use my ruler, I'm going to mark 5 millimeters in from the edge in multiple places. So 5 millimeters in multiple places. You can do more than that. I'm just going to do 5 because I think it will be nice. I'm going to join that with a line. So there we go. Move my ruler and my pencil away. I have now got a line that I'm going to sew to. So now we take our needle. I'm going to put it in between the 2 pieces. So I'm going to start on the the left hand side, and only through the top layer of fabric. So I'm going to fold the bottom bit back, and I'm going to push it through like this, so it's just in the top layer. That means you don't get the little knot at the back. And then I'm going to whip round once and through the same hole, but this time through both the layers of fabric, okay? So through the same hole and then under this loop that I've created. And that will create your first little stitch. Then we continue going along this line, but this time we start from the front. So because I've done 5 millimeters down, I'm going to go 5 millimeters across, in through the front, through the loop. Ooh, I just hit my camera. In through the loop and up, and that will create your first blanket stitch. We're going to continue. I'm only going to do a couple, and then I'll show you what it looks like once I've gone the whole way through. And there you have it. That's the start of your blanket stitch. We are going to do this all the way round our badge now. So I'm going to leave it here, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. And there you have it. This is my finished little badge or patch. What you can do is once you've done all this, all your little threads will be on the inside so you can't see them. And you can add to the back here a little safety pin or a badge clip, and you can attach it to anything you like. But that is a step-by-step tutorial on how to make this little patch.